Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's another day of daily Cosmonarchy casts on this here YouTube channel. So subscribe if you're not already subscribed. That way you'll bump our numbers up, you'll always stay informed of the latest developments, and you'll see all of the videos as they come out. This one is going to be part 2 of a series we started a couple of days ago. It will be the final part as well. It'll be Neblime taking on jakulangski. We got 2 more matches left, and right now we are tied up 1-1. Let's get into it. Going back to Maxiom, last game was cross spawns with Neblime in the bottom, or in the top right rather, and jakulangski in the bottom left. This time around, Jack will be in the top right, as I believe this is the Maroon Zerg. It is indeed, and Neblime will be in the bottom right. Oh man, I don't actually know which color. Is this Aerolite yellow? I never get the yellows right either. Beastra brown. Well, there you go. 50%. 50%. Classic move there from jakulangski, predicting a replay corruption. Don't worry, it didn't actually happen. XD. Although I think one of them might not have worked out at the end of the day. I think there were 5 games that were submitted, but don't worry. As far as we're aware, it's all good. It's all good. We actually have some really nice progress made in exploring that kind of replay issue, as well as, by the way, I believe a different replay issue that is synced or linked to some freeze that occasionally happens at the beginning when you at the beginning of the score screen process when you exit the game. So. There you go. You got some nice technical progress here. Unfortunately, as I was mentioning recently to Shadow Fury, who joined me for the cast yesterday, how, you know, generally speaking, it's all well and good to say that, hey, Brood War is like, you know, it's closed source and stuff, but the fact that we don't have that much going on when it comes to source access to anything, including some of the tools and some of the programs, it means that it's actually very easy to unintentionally break something because it's just not really obvious what's going on and what the sort of pattern it really is in terms of how the code functions at the end of the day, since we essentially have to reverse engineer stuff even if we have access to some of the source in the first place, or, you know, it's reverse engineered to begin with and then we're editing reverse engineered stuff. It can get really messy. So I appreciate everybody bearing with us in that department, but we are getting pretty well along in the life cycle, design cycle of this here project, and Neblime is going to go ahead and do Gateway Warden, being relatively safe. This does mean that he's probably going to set up for a low military count in the early stages of the game. I wonder what his thought process is behind it. And he's not obligated to say. He does watch these casts, of course, and occasionally will leave a comment explaining himself. But sometimes he also likes to keep the curtain drawn and make it so that it's harder to see exactly what is going on in his mind. He's one of those players who loves to compete in the tournaments, and you know, he loves to practice up in favor of that. He's getting a lot of time to practice up in for the next Acropolis, which I thought would be, you know, maybe July. It's looking increasingly likely it'll be like mid-July when we start things off, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. Of course, you can stay active in our Discord server if you want up-to-date thoughts on that. And actually, speaking of tournament thoughts, I have been entertaining an idea that Hit 'em Up recently suggested in his clan channel, talking about how it would be nice if we had some weekend tours going on. I think him and Crankendow, maybe even Art of Turtle, were discussing that sort of thing. And it feels to me like we could absolutely see a world where we have stuff that's kind of like the Invitational, but even less, you know, requiring of a setup than that. And maybe, you know, it would just be like 2 groups or something. You know, we would see how many people sign up for those kinds of tournaments every single weekend or every other weekend or something like that. And you know, it would just be like, okay, let's only do like a couple of things instead of the full 4 group run that we sometimes do. And, you know, that's just the way that it crumbles. That could be something that's worth doing. Also, since we have more interested players, but we wouldn't want to do as many groups, maybe we start to do 2v2 tournaments every weekend or something. You know, it's just like a quick thing. And but that might be something that when you see me doing my live development streams, it could be something interesting that we could maybe fundraise for and say like, hey, I need $100 for this here event. So, you know, that's going to be towards the prize pool and the operating costs and such. So let me know if you're interested in that. And then, you know, people would donate towards that as they often do. But that way it's not like, you know, gouging the whole crew or whatever. Because if one individual was thinking, yeah, I could donate a lot of money, and then like Biddy B or somebody like that, and then it turns out that we have, you know, a crazy number of tournaments like once every weekend, and like it's just a quick, you know, 2-group thing, and like winner gets $20 or something. I don't know. We'd have to figure it out exactly how much the prize pool would be turned into. But anyway, it's some interesting thoughts, and we have some interesting things happening in the game. So let's talk about that. Enough musing. I really should just get ahead and carve out the time necessary. I've been very busy lately, but carve out the time necessary to record the latest outstanding episode of Prototype, our design podcast. So stay tuned for that as well. All right, we have the Vornath pool our Vornath pond rather being made, as well as a third base coming for Jakulangski. He's using the gas to harvest very fast so that he can afford gas-intensive units and such. Of course, the tech as well. So as that has been happening, Neblime with a scout in the top left hasn't actually pulled that home. Might think about taking a fast, top left base or something. He's going to go Stargate, and that could be very, very interesting depending on how soon Jakulangski's attack is going to be, as he's adding a Hydroth Den back there, our Zerg player. Slowly setting up the resource harvesting necessary in the natural for Neblime, and he has his nice little wall here, holding tight with his Scribe and having the Matrix here as well. So the Zets are, barking up the wrong tree if they're trying to get pretty deep into there. But, we could seriously have some Vorvacors coming. We'll have to wait and see, because we actually don't have that much military out for Jack right now. It's just the Zets, these 4 Drakodins marching across the map. So far, he's set up nicely for a surround, but Neblime actually paying attention to that is going to realize that and kind of stop that from really being able to go for anything. Maybe one of these Drakodins indeed, nice surround there from Jakulangski, but that's all he's going to be able to get. Maybe a little bit of chip damage onto this guy, but no, not even that much. So static defense now being set up. We got 3 pairs of Zets in the production queue, and more Kagrins coming for a massive spike in larva production. It's going to be, I think he's going to go up to 3 Larvosks, and then otherwise we're just going to see some anti-surface defense being put down at the third base, as well as it looks like at the natural. This one, Burrow Scout, just going to be seeing if there's an army move out to the mid-left. For now, it looks like Neblime, after losing that one Dragon, wants to come on home, and he's starting up the Gladius count. Now, we have some tools here for Jakulangski that will be available for that sort of thing. He has fully saturated the gas in his natural, and of course, the gas in his third base, so that is going to help him out quite a bit. And the Hydroth Den here means that he can turn it into the Scab at a moment's notice and go for Mass Skith as the reaction to the Gladius count, as well as, of course, maybe going for some Nathracors. Just a couple of them to reduce the armor. It makes a big difference, actually. They have that Hidebreaker passive. It currently just reduces armor by 1. We were having a discussion as to whether or not it should amplify damage by 1, which the difference being that if you attack a unit with no armor, it would still give you essentially something that would be analogous to negative armor end, being able to rend negatively. Now, we do have 3 pairs of Nathracors being queued up, and only 1 Hydralisk. There is no anti-air defense besides this one Spraith over here. So as this Gladius comes in to get a little bit of harassment done, you can see that it is doing it's doing some things, making sure to get some action happening over here. Gonna go ahead and get the Burrow off. That's about it. So, a couple worker kills, right? It's still something, but at the end of the day, the Nathracors are out here now, and that should help be enough to chase off a single Gladius, right? You're not going to have a crazy number of them. Falling on back, and yeah, he's trying to do the dance move, but as the Nathracors move away, they're not actually being hit by anything. They fly too fast for the projectile, so that ends up being a little bit of an awkward situation here. Another Gladius has since popped out. It looks like that's actually going to be it. We only have 2 Gladiuses right now, so if the Nathracor count gets really high, then you might not even need the Skithacors, but the Scab is coming. More defenses being erected, meanwhile, for Jakulangski, who is comfortably on a third base already, resaturating his gas. Could definitely do with more workers, but right now is a very nice number. And the Nathracors are indeed going to be zoned away. That one Ovoleth is in need of it as well. And look at this, jumping straight into the Iral Iris, throwing caution to the wind and saying, I'm going to have tier 2, and you probably aren't going to have that many military units. So Neblime, with it all to do right now, some more static defense being set up here. That's probably going to be like 1 Circuith to Spraith or something like that. And the Zets are going to come out here and realize, oh, you're actually moving out. Let's see what we can do here. Trying to sandwich onto the Ecclesiast there. Should be enough now, but no, they fall away instead of trying to pick it. It was very, very low. Looks like most of the Zethacors weren't even on attack moves, some of them moving past the enemy. It's a little interesting. And yeah, some anti-surface, anti-air. Makes sense, right? But we've got quadruple Larvosk as well as the 3 hatches. So 7 larva production right now. Third base discovered by Jakulangski. Knows that he can maybe make a move pretty soon here. Banking a decent amount of resources and some larva as well. But I think the reason for that is actually so that he can activate random Hydralisk getting caught in the middle. But yeah, what is the reaction right now? Because the Gladiuses are here. The Spraiths are in high enough number that you can't just sit here over the enemy and deal bounce damage to them, right? You need to get close enough. Iral Iris now complete. What do we see as the reaction? We got 3 Skithacors, not a crazy number right now. And you can see here, you're right, they're not close enough to get the bouncing going. They do kill one Circuit, but that's about it right now. A lot of Hydras being made, Alcag and Matravel Nest on the way. We do have the third string evolution for the pond as well. That's going to be the Calcure Lake. Maybe we can turn these Nathicores into Calculusks. That's if they don't die first. I think they're actually going to be pushed on back, but their sacrifice is not in vain, because what they do allow for is the arrival of more reinforcements, and the Hydras get rid of most of the front line. So we only have the Dracodons and the Gladiuses left. Movement speed increase courtesy of that Ecclesias is going to definitely be helpful here, but let's see for exactly how long Neblime wants to hold the front. He does have a nice setup over here. Grand Library acting as his wall. We look back at what he's been up to. We have the engram in the back as well as an anti-air stack sort of solution. And he's starting to add a little bit more actualized build space over there in his main, adding another pylon for that purpose. Definitely going to be adding some, upper tier production. And we have some Oxal Cesians coming. Okay, interesting. Those are very expensive in terms of Vespene, but he doesn't exactly have the mineral income either to start adding, excisants, gas caps to the various geysers in his control. Would love to see like 20 workers just get waypointed over there and start saturating the treasury base, because it seems like map control is indeed in his favor. Although Neblime does have the witnesses out to speculate as to what his opponent is doing, and that's definitely going to be pretty helpful there. Yeah, the witnesses have been very consequential, I would say, in this matchup so far. Gladius is going to intercept some of these ground units. The Hydralisks with Ensnaring Brood are definitely going to be useful because they can help you pick individual Gladiuses if they're not careful. But now that they have the ground escort, I feel like the Gladiuses are going to be okay. Really, it's just a question of how soon jakulangski can secure additional bases. The one pylon blocking that is dastardly play from the Scribe that was sent out as the Worker Scout by Neblime many, many minutes ago. Love to see that. Got a couple of Calculusks on the way. The slight reddish hue to that Oxal Cesiant is... Oh my god, the Warden as well. Why not? Well, these units are going to clean that up. Now, this does open up a little bit of an opening here for Neblime to be able to come on in and start attacking the front. I mean, most of the military units have gone over here. So now that's secured the hatch, he's going to go up the ramp and even further to kill the worker. That should definitely pull the trigger on the attack. There's just nothing at home right now. I think this is a big strategic whiff here from jakulangski. Now, he doesn't actually go all the way up to reveal his army there. So the Scribe being a little bit further out may have saved him, because Neblime absolutely could have walked in here and just stepped on the worker count. Even if he doesn't even get the hatch, he would still definitely be in a very nice position. Here come the Gladiuses to do that. At a count of 7, they are very, very nice right now. Sure, the Calculusks exist, and they can outrange the bounces, so there is that as well. We even have some Gosvalets out. That's an interesting choice. More and more Calculusks out to try to sort of hit all of the units at once. Calculusks do have that line trace damage, so they hit anything along the path to their target. And now we can see here a volley onto that Calculusk, instantly dead from the Gladiuses. You have to be so careful and you prepared for this sort of attack. We've got Lyrilisks out as well to try to harry and give chase to the air units as they start to retreat. And you can see, what is the focus fire coming out here? I think Neblime has totally whiffed that one. It doesn't even look like he was paying attention to the Gladiuses, and he loses 3 or 4 of them immediately. Now the hatch being taken in not just the top left natural, but also in the upper 3 o'clock position. So we are absolutely seeing jakulangski with some nice macro advantage. I can't believe what I'm seeing, because normally Neblime has Jack in his back pocket from the games that I've seen so far. But we've got a Vithrilisk out as well to start stacking up that armor debuff. Calculusks are going to be even more powerful. The Matrolets have arrived yet again to start ensnaring. That's going to reduce a lot of the movement speed and stop them from being able to kite. Has the ground army swelled too high for Neblime, though? That is a good question. He's got a lot of Atriuses. He's adding an Architect back there. We'd love to see a Cantors join the fray at this point as well. The Air Force has mostly been demolished, but Gladiuses are still being made slowly behind that. Unfortunately for Neblime, he's kind of lost track of them a little bit yet again, and so that is going to stop him from being able to secure it. It doesn't look like those Matrolets are going to be good for much there. In fact, a lot of them did die to the Atrius splash. You got to watch out for that, right? He was trying to infest them, get a little bit too fancy with it. I feel like that kind of greed might have been a little bit awkward. And look at this, Ardent Authority and a Gateway being added to the top left. That's going to just snipe that base almost certainly, unless Jack happens to be going through a bit of a worker or like a military setup over here. But right now, he's not even saturating it, so maybe it's not super impactful. Could definitely see top left main being taken as we have Neblime going up to his 4th base, and maybe thinking about a 5th as well. So he's not exactly too far behind his opponent. Unfortunately for, it looks like both of our players are kind of being a little bit sloppy with their air unit management, which is definitely going to lead to some interesting results. Those Gosvalets definitely taking out some nice work. This one Gladius has managed to make his way over here. Interesting stuff. And now, beyond all of that, I mean, this is actually a really risky position for Neblime's army, I feel like. It's not exactly all of what he's got. He still has the Architect lying around and a couple of other units stacked over here. But if he had lost that, you know, if Jack had gone for the Jugular there, that would have been a pretty big deal. Jack has a lot of idle workers over ahead his third base, trying to deal with the Gladius. Oh my god, the Vitalisks are actually going to die. Well, it's a little bit of a death pact there, but they do end up getting got. If he had split them so they didn't receive the bounces, then obviously they would have been much better off. Kagralisks out, as well as, of course, we've been seeing Lyralisks be produced as well this whole time. Just the one Oxel so far, so not spending the Vespene on bypassing that just yet in too many more cases. Ground Army now going to move over to 6 o'clock for Neblime. It's just in time to catch some of the movements coming in here. If this had been 5 seconds later, Jack could have taken a very nice engagement. He might still go for it, though. In fact, he's not actually pulling the attack move trigger just yet, but it looks like a couple more units are going to come on in and maybe chase him away. Yeah, but most of the Hydras and Zets have all died, and that is a very awkward position indeed for Jakulangski's military. He's now going to go ahead and fully set this up, but we've got a Cantors and Drakidans being made, unbeknownst to him. So, absolutely, I mean, a Cantor in the mineral line, that's going to be very deadly. And this base is being saturated before the upper 3 o'clock. So, with the top left natural being more valuable now as a target, that could very well turn the tide. Neblime taking his 5th base. Of course, now, again, once again, tying the base count. You want to be a little bit more ahead than this when it's in this situation. And sure, Jakulangski has a lot of workers, but at least 18 of them are just sitting here idle, right? He hasn't actually looked at his third in some time. So you can make this a lot closer as a result of that. Granted, I haven't been looking around for idle stacks of Neblime workers, so maybe there's like some of those that you can take away, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like he's on the ball with that, so... There we go. Jack now realizing, oh, I should have saturated this third base a long time ago. And indeed, looks like he absolutely can. But he pulls some of them away. It looks like he's going to go ahead and try to get the mineral saturation on over there. Now the jig is up. Now your attack force is revealed, your little proxy force, you can call it. The Calculisks should definitely be dispatched to deal with that. But do you end up opening yourself up to air harassment or something of the like? We've still seen Gladiuses be made. Many Architects as well. So the difference between the Architect move and the Cantor move is that Cantors are definitely going to give you ground supremacy versus splashing units, like crowds of units, right? But the Architects are going to be better in a longer fight. The longer the fight goes on, the better the Architects are generally going to be. And so it's just a question of, positioning, right? The Cantors are going to get great value on anything that is going to intercept them, but they have to be allowed to attack. If they're not allowed to do the attack, that is a big deal, right? Because the Architects can just pick a target, whereas the Cantors have to they rely on the enemy being in front of them, which is usually the case with Zerg. But you can see a world where you might want to go for Architects instead. Now, upper 3 o'clock is going to be demolished, and I'm not 100%... Well, okay, I'll hold my breath for just a moment here because there is an infested scribe, and it looks like maybe Jack is thinking about spending that 4,000 bank on some grand libraries or something of the like. Taking control of Protoss units is very important or very powerful if you get access to their tech tree because they don't have tech requirements, right? So it's not like you have to build the Atlas first or whatever to start using some Terran stuff. So that's a pretty big deal. In fact, he might just go ahead and start infesting the production structures. He's got the pylons up and everything. Very, very nice. Well, Jack, you still need to spend your money, I gotta say. But indeed, like what did I say, right? Grand libraries, big deal. Starting to get that up. He'll go ahead and drop a pylon probably next to this force as well. And, at this point, Neblime just has to sort of watch on in horror as his opponent starts to steal his tech tree. But has Jack been a little bit too lax with his own military production? Right now, we've got tied militaries in terms of unit count, and that is not really what you want to see because Jakulangski is absolutely going to be feeling the burn, feeling the pain. His Kagralist count is starting to fall. The front line is all gone. Some nice Vilgaleth casts to cover his retreat a little bit here, although some of them are still getting hemorrhaged. But we really need to see these Matroleths stay alive because that ensnare proc is definitely going to be very powerful. Now look at this. Even though we've been attempting to see something over here, right? There was no Nexus being made, so that Scribe Snipe is actually very impactful. And look at this. I mean, there's not really anything for anti-air. He's just sniping attempting to snipe the pylon power. And look at that, the Grand Library going to go ahead and warp on in. Very interesting stuff. More Vilgaleths, more Convolisks as well. We saw a couple of these earlier, and that might actually be enough. I mean, again, the Architect, if it was tasked onto the right units, would have been more than enough to deal with things like the Convolisk is very low. But the Rilla Rocore is definitely throwing the AI for a loop there. They're throwing the automatic targeting for a bit of a loop. And look at this, unpowered. The only Protoss structure that is still left alive is and active is this Grand Library, and it will also be unpowered. And now jakulangski has no real access to using his tech that he's stolen. A great little guerrilla move from Neblime to walk out here and just sabotage the position. Make sure that that technology cannot be used. At this point, he would need to steal another scribe and move it all the way over there. It's just very unlikely that that happens. So, you know what? As exciting as it was going to be to see Protoss, structures get used for the Zerg, as exciting as that was, I don't think that... I think it's also equally exciting, and maybe even more exciting, to see Neblime prioritize shutting it down just so he doesn't have to worry about that. All right, so pretty big cliff advantage here for Neblime, and it looks like jakulangski wants to chance it. He does have some more units coming on in. Does he have a underscore chance? That's the question. More and more Vilgalets arriving. We've got the Gladiuses returning over here to start heckling the structures left over just in case, but it does look like this will be a full wipe of the ground army over here in the upper 3, and there's not really anything defending the lower 3, so you got to remember that as Neblime is fighting a bit of a war on multiple fronts here, he's trying to reset his army count, but I mean, it's pretty high. It's just that it's all the way on the other side of the map. And he's setting up a whole bunch of static defense over here. It doesn't actually look like jakulangski is going to continue the pressure. And I'm going to say Neblime is decidedly in the advantage, not just in terms of economy, which you can clearly see with your own eyeballs, but in terms of map presence and tempo and, being able to split the map in this way, but then still establish this position, even though it was very vulnerable and absolutely could have been taken out. So the Gladius is still providing a lot of value, even this deep into the game, for Neblime. Makes total sense, right? He's added some Ancestral Archives. He's producing Patriarchs for the sustain. His next attack is going to be very scary, and I'm not so sure that jakulangski is going to be able to hold off. He's finding it very difficult already to make it over there and actually and deal with this position, so... Maybe he'll snipe this last Gladius, but he's going to really need to work hard on resaturating those bases. As he's only at, he's got 5, 6 on the way, and most of them are not saturated, right? Whereas you count this one in, you start to count this one in. I mean, Neblime is going to be going up to effectively 7 base income. Oh, look, that Gladius actually snipes the hatch as well. I mean, that is really crippling. So it's not even just a question of does he have enough? Can he reset the worker count? No, he has to actually rebuild that hatch as well. And again, not taking advantage of the 12 o'clock treasury, whereas over here we've got a good number of workers gathering from that. It might not even be at saturation, but it's still going to be good enough. It's going to be more than you normally would get in terms of mineral income. And with no gas caps here for Neblime to speak of, that is a bit of a concern. I guess he has the one in the bottom left main, but he hasn't capped any other geysers. So he's a little bit behind in terms of Vespene income compared to his opponent, but massively ahead in terms of mineral income. And that can and will make the difference here when you're trying to field a lot of units out of Grand Libraries, a lot of units out of Ancestral Archives. A lot of them can be quite mineral heavy. You think about Archons, you think about the Vagrants that he's going to start adding with these Rogue Galleries. You think about the fact that he's spamming out Amaranths out of his couple of Grand Libraries that he has. He's saving his Vespene for other details, right? He's saving his Vespene for those Architects, for the Patriarchs. Those are the kinds of things that he's going to target over here. And waypointing this big melee-heavy composition of the top left, that is happening at the same time as a massive fight in the middle. If this goes nicely for Neblime, he's also going to get the double victory of securing the top left position and wiping it out. He's actually going to fall away and allow that position with the superior range to be contested and taken by jakulangski. An infested Archon over here for good measure. I mean, I've never seen something quite like that. That's got to be a first, I think. Moving on forward, now the position is falls in his court. This is home ground territory for Neblime. Home field advantage kicking in with the servitors dying to increase the movement speed. That's going to allow the melee units to get it that much further forward. And you know what? These Matrolets have stayed alive for a very long time, getting a lot of value. Enchanting for Ensnare might have been the difference maker here, but you got to remember that more units are coming on in, and at this point, the push is over, and the top left is taken out. jakulangski had to make a massive amount of victories out of this push, and he just simply has not done it. More forces happening in the middle, but he's only got Matrolets, man. You gotta need some units for them to support. They're certainly not gonna be able to get there on their own. And look, he never even saturated the upper 3. That is going to be bopped immediately. The infested Protoss structures being cleaned out. Some more units gonna get caught by the rally. Archon fully saturated in shields. Patriarch here to keep it alive. Oh no! Oh, God. the air stack, the splash damage. They can't break the Archon. Apparently they got a hash, but the game was over. It was all good. GG's. And you know what? That was a pretty cool match. I got to see a lot of cool things from out of Neblime. We got one more, so let's see what happens. We're going to a 2-spawn map for the first time in this series. It's going to be Neblime in the top left and an oily jakulangski onion in the bottom right. That is going to be... I want to say... Is this Palatinate purple? Because it's definitely not Tyrian purple. So it must be Palatinate, right? Yeah, buddy. And this must just be... Do I dare say this is just yellow? Because it kind of looks like Aerolite yellow. But... I don't know. It's like a little bit darker. It is just yellow. Okay. Well... Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? 50% again. Let's go for it, boys. Let's see what more we can do besides guess colors with a coin flip accuracy. Although, hey, in the 2v2, I apparently guessed 75%, right? Luciferius coming in with the color guess percentage. Love to see that. Love to see that, boys. Keep track of that stuff in the comments below. So this is Oblivion. I'm at by the Beaver 99. And it's going to be interesting to see what we do here. This is a 2-spawn map, so it's a little bit different. Maybe we'll see a faster action, or maybe it'll be crazy. And also very long in terms of the macro department. But nonetheless, I digress. I am looking forward to it. That's what I can tell you. And I'm also looking forward to seeing just more Cosmonarchy in general, more Smash, more games. Obviously, I've been, like I mentioned a couple of times in the last couple of casts and in the previous game, I've been a bit busier than normal, so I haven't been able to do the normal things like the weekly devlog and the weekly podcast and stuff, or getting back into that. But the daily videos have continued, and those are important. So I say let's keep that train rolling. And I've been able to negotiate maybe grabbing a couple other people, right? We had Shadow Fury join us. I guess Dominic Casts is the other alias he goes by. He's able to was able to grasp some details, some things. Maybe we can find games that are exceptionally maybe on the sillier side, maybe on the more straightforward side. He didn't seem to shy away from doing from the idea of doing sets as well. So if there's like a set of games people want him specifically to cast, you can always post them in the replay submission folder or a thread in the Discord server, and then just give him an at and say like, hey dude, I think this would be great if you casted it, or I would prefer to you cast, whatever. You know, there's definitely, we used to have when Mesk was still casting, and, you know, there's, we had this idea that people would have recommended casting, right? Like recommended casted by this person. So, you know, we can always do stuff like that. And I guess in that sense, if somebody does do a really silly set, and you specifically want Mesk to cast it, let me know, and I can send it to him. Also, if you want Neblime to cast a set, or if you want to donate your replays for the cause of the beginner stream that Neblime wants to do, he wants to just cast games for like many hours, then definitely let us know and send him those. Oh, look at that! The mineral walk goes right on through. Not able to trap the scribe, and that pylon will have to be canceled. Does delay the hatch for a good amount of time here, and the Worker Scout's already been destroyed, so Neblime being able to walk on out with a little bit of hull damage on the Legionnaire, and that's about it. I guess you wouldn't call it hull, would you? Armor damage, you know? It's damaged his armor. But Nexus coming down actually much faster than his opponent's hatch. Definitely going to feel nice about that. And it's just Zeths. Now, none of these units can use the anchor, but, you know, you can garrison it and then, you know, hide. So that's exactly what jakulangski is doing here. Buying some time might actually be a legitimate play here. You know, does he end up falling away because he's got more units coming in, but not quite enough. There's a little bit too much deeps to bring down that anchor, and then obviously the Legionnaire horde has to continue flooding on in. Now the Zets are set up for a nice flank. There are a couple more Legionnaires coming. He can't exactly engage super fast here, and you can see he's just going to get completely annihilated. I mean, this could actually be a very fast game. You think about the number of dead Zeths. Well, I don't know. The Vornath is coming. He's got 3 more pairs. Worker count is dead even right now, so it's not the end of the world. But he needs to actually kill some of these Legionnaires. He can't just keep hemorrhaging Zeths and not getting any frags. They're growing to a number of 5. This is all based off of 1 gate. I mean, the second one was added, but the Nexus is behind this. It's not like this is an all-in position for Neblime, but he's still getting a crazy amount of damage, and that Larvos could be targeted down. No, Neblime thinks twice of it. Remember, those are super vulnerable targets, only 240 health and 2 armor, so very easy to snipe down. 8 damage a pop from these Legionnaires since they don't have any armor penetration. All right, well, they speed on away. Vorvicor's now being mutated. That will be more than enough. But I would say that Neblime has done his due diligence and done his job. Most importantly, he's got his second Nexus up, so he will be able to make workers a little bit faster. He does spot the eggs, I'm pretty sure, just at the corner of the Legionnaire's eyes. They are lower in terms of vision range than they used to be, but not that low. So he knows the Vornath has been made. A couple Quasis on the way. Third base as well. So we will see that same Vespene harvest in terms of being fast Vespene, right? That'll still be a thing for jakulangski. He's going to see if he can dive onto here, but again, just picking a couple of units off here, not a bad idea. Does slow one. Going to be able to pick that one as well, and there it goes. Now, falling all the way back, we've got 3 Wardens, well, 2.5, and a bunch of Ecclesiasts here, so the sustain is going to be off the wazoo. Got the Zealots as well, but remember that Vorvicors apply Hidebreaker, and that is going to reduce their effective armor by 1, so Zealots will have much less than they normally do to shield themselves from things like Quasilisks. But so far, it's been a bit of a haphazard attack. Slapdash. The Vorvicors, if you task them onto the Wardens, they significantly reduce the DPS they have because of the Ensnare. Does affect the building, right? In terms of the attack speed. But obviously that was not going to be enough, right? That was a full hold. Now jakulangski should definitely be setting up for a bit of a contain, but instead the Legionnaires just immediately exit stage right. They're going to be heading around the sort of world and hit the third base. Almost certainly. So jakulangski is going to go ahead and fall on back. The Stargate beginning by Neblime back in the main. We'd love to see an embassy sometime soon for a witness, and then also additional worker production, but he's already in the lead in that department. It's just that Jack can basically choose to spike up anytime he wants. He's adding another Larvosk. See some static defense being set up as well. And here come the Legionnaires. They're going to snipe this Kagrim before it can really turn into anything, so that's a little bit awkward. Basically a worker kill, plus a little bit extra in terms of the mineral cost. And now look, he's drawn the army away, but the rest of the army is going to charge on forward. Again, this is really nicely played by Neblime. And it feels like Jack is just a little bit out of the element for this particular case. We'll have to see what more he can do to try to salvage the situation, but losing more and more units is not going to be it. Bit of a mini flank coming in from the south. It does pull one Zealot away. The Legionnaires now coming in to try to flank the flankers, but have they taken a little bit too long? I think they should be fine. This should still be a pretty decisive victory here for Neblime, and so he's going to go ahead and salvage most of those units. Didn't lose too much. Great skirmish setup, and again, jakulangski falling further behind in terms of worker count. We got a second Stargate on the way. And at any point, Neblime can go for a third base. He can go for more gateways. He can just throw down whatever he wants to do at this point. Third base is going to be it. Wants to obviously keep in step with his opponent macro-wise, but he's already got that macro advantage despite the third base being set up. jakulangski not completely out of it, of course, because of that third base. Has a little bit extra larva, adding the Larvosks in the main. Remember that those are easier targets to snipe, so it's not all about like, oh, I saved time and minerals, and obviously just spend Vespene instead. It's not just about that, right? They are a vulnerable target. Legionnaires can easily run past these circuits and wreak havoc on the mineral line, but that is mostly just going to be a scouting party for now. 3 more being added in with the crew. A couple production structure or defensive structures happening over here for Neblime's third, and he's just got more and more units idling around. No Gladius dispatch just yet. He's going to wait for at least some number of them, especially since he's got double Stargate. So he definitely wants to get access to more Vespene so he can spend it on other things. As of right now, he's kind of locked his Vespene income into the Gladiuses. I mean, he can still do a couple of things here and there, but that's it for the most part. Now, we got some Nathacors, we got some Hydras mixed in with this force, but that's probably going to be it. Nice picks onto the Ecclesiasts, but as they speed up, they should be mostly safe. I think another one will end up going down, and indeed, retreated all the way back to where the Gladiuses and the Matrixes are, and now the Nathacors are going to be dispatched over there. There is a Warden in the mineral line, so they're not going to be able to run amok entirely, but the Gladiuses are still fancying a potential attack over there. Instead, they do end up coming on back, and that's going to force a cancel to the attack. Remember, those Legionnaires still exist, and they are going to charge on forward into the Larvosks, and that's what I mentioned about them being a vulnerable target. I haven't seen this replay before. I just genuinely think that it's potentially quite risky to go for mass Larvosk and leave your door completely open, because again, you just run on by these circuits. No problems at all. So look at that, completely annihilating 3 circuits. That's, what is that, 250 plus 125. So 375 Vespene cost just down the tubes. The Vorvs are going to go ahead and come in and get over here. These turn into Spraiths. Interesting. Okay, he's actually going to turn that one into a Larvosk. He knows that the Gladiuses are out, so it makes sense to add more Spraiths, but I was wondering what was going on. Okay, they're still here. They're still being a nuisance. you know, buying some more time, forcing Jakulangski to fall on back. That's exactly what you want those Legionnaires to do. You know, they are for run buys. And the Zethicors guarding the anchors, going to be tasked as an attack move. This is a nice little move for Jakulangski to get more vision, to gather more intel. Big fan of that. Many Nathicors. Okay, he's adding the Larvusks in the natural this time around. And look at this. He might actually be able to pick a Gladius here. I'm not 100% sure. They are sticking to it. Yeah, look at that. If he pulled away immediately, that would have been great. That would have been very cost efficient. But unfortunately, he does not pull away immediately, and so he doesn't get anything else done. But 4 Gladiuses is more manageable than 5. We can see if that count gets any further down or not. And more Legionnaires. We got more and more Gladiuses. Very nice run buys out of Neblime, I gotta say. All right, let's see. I mean, Jakulangski wants to tie this setup again, of course, but he's going to go ahead and collapse upon the ground army right now. And this is outside of the range of the matrices and the engram for the most part, so that's going to work out just fine, I think. Hydra's coming in from the center of the map. They're going to cleave through the Vorvikor depowered or debuffed Zealots for sure. But again, the Gladiuses are still going to be quite efficient at dealing with this sort of force. We've got the Anchor up here. That might take some of the initial aggro from Jakulangski. From the rest of his forces, but instead, yeah, you can see, not quite paying too much attention. All right, he's going to charge on forward. Not quite able to pick off the one Gladius that's super low. In fact, he's going to end up losing a lot of his Hydras. This is looking really rough. The 4th base is going to get set up, but the Legionnaires were already in position to start stabbing it to death. He's going to see if he can save it, but I think he's just got to cancel. I don't think he can do that. So this is taking a lot of brain power away from Jakulangski. 12 Hydras, 5 Zeths. Can he secure it? No, he has to cancel. Yeah, that's very rough. Well, he keeps the worker alive. That's an important step. But again, the tempo is already here. Neblime's taking his 4th. Very nicely set up at this point. No action towards 12 or 6 just yet, so we're going to keep those bases, sort of keeping watch on those bases. The one Ecclesiast is going to get bopped. The Gladius stack, 9 of them right now. They're going to go ahead and clean out this force in the middle. I don't mind this play whatsoever. I mean, some Bactylisks are being made, but it's going to be a while before they hit. I feel like this is just the perfect time for Neblime to attack before the Bactylisks actually show up. And a single Zealot going to go ahead and start attacking that base once again. Here's the Bactylisks, here's the Hydras. They are going to zone away and kill a single one of the Gladiuses. I don't think that the ground army is big enough for this fight, especially with the Gladiuses falling so far away. Here's the Bactylisk response. Remember, some of these are very low. Shields already brought down. It doesn't take very long whatsoever. Now the Hydra's sticking onto them. This should be a nice moment for Jakulangski. He only picks a single one, but he is wiping the ground very, very nicely. He needs a flood of Zeths and Vorvs to deal with this Matrix and the engram, but as of right now, he's looking okay. He just can't suicide on this army right now. That's not the right move. Positron's out for some anti-air stack. You can tell what's going on there. He doesn't want to go into land effects. And yeah, now this is the time to pounce. There is no front line, and the Hydra counts are already being reduced. Here come the Zeths. I was talking about the flood necessary. Does clear the Zealot attacking the base, but doesn't have anything over there. Worker count very massively in Neblime's favor. Nice awareness to move everything over there, saturating his 4th base. He has eyes on all sorts of different locations, right? He's got this Zealot over here. He doesn't have anything on this side, but he has stuff over here. And his Gladius is in that neck of the woods. He knows that Jakulangski wasn't taking it at that time. Doesn't mean he hasn't since, but we've got the Skits. We still don't have any tier 2, I've noticed. Instead of preemptively putting down a bunch of Kagrins for the purpose of having some anti-air. And you can see the Gladiuses are going to shark over towards maybe attacking that 4th base. Is he confident in the ability to hold? He's got lots of stuff over here as well. Very, very scary to attack into this position here for Jakulangski, especially so haphazardly. 3 Matrixes and an engram? Are you serious? Like, there's almost no way to make that work. Almost no way to bust that down at tier 1. I mean, you can. If you have enough Vorvs, you can, but, you know, at what cost? Thinking about taking the other position, but the Zealot is already in the spot, so Jakulangski is going to have a little bit of heartbreak. Needs to saturate his 4th. He's catching some of the Gladiuses in the middle. This is an important moment, but looks like it doesn't... Yeah, he's not going to be able to kill anything there. And the Zorka's Shroud is a pretty big deal as well. Look at all the Zeths. I mean... I'm not sure that you can make that much from this position that you need. I guess that's for the anti-ground, you know, build some Lachesis or something. But yeah, you can tell that I think the army is just too damn powerful at this point, right? Zets are going to come on back in, and the Gladiuses are going to clean house. The Skithicors were here, but most of the Hydras are dead. Like, you just doesn't have the combined arms in the right spot all at once. And he's lost his attempted 6 o'clock spawn, so that's not going to work out either. You know, when everything is going crazy, you can start to think, wait, did I even send a worker there? Like, did I do that? And then, you know, that can really get in your head. You're like, what the hell? I don't even have a... I thought I expanded there. I thought I was going to build an expansion there. And then you don't realize it was killed or whatever in the heat of the moment. 12 o'clock being taken here by Neblime. Iris almost done. So jakulangski not out of the tech rush yet, or tech game yet, but he's definitely facing a lot of a deficit, right? We've got, what is this, 8 gate, double Ardent, double Stargate, embassy out, so witnesses. Going to be able to reveal things, scout on the army, watch for all the positions. Neblime definitely seems to have settled in nicely as Protoss, but still waiting for, I'm sure there's going to be people out there who can defeat him. Got engrams, matrixes. This Legionnaire horde is going to go ahead and descend upon the Larvosks once again, I feel like. Alcag and Matrevo, dude, you could just come in here and snipe the tech. I mean, there's a lot of Zets coming, but this number of Legionnaires is potentially able to deal with them too. Which is kind of funny. They don't normally trade super well versus Zets, but could be enough. Now this base, oh my god, the Droleth death. Total Droleth death. That's what's happening right now with Neblime reigning supreme with his Gladiuses. There's a lot of Spraits over here, but is it going to be nearly enough? Here come the Skits to try to descend upon it. The bounce is not targeting them just yet, so that could be a really big win, actually. But as they get closer, they're going to be more within the firing line. Nice spreads coming out of Neblime. And, of course, the Legionnaires charging in along with it. First targeting the Iris. That is going to be what Neblime's target is, apparently. But he has lost all of his Gladiuses. I don't know that he can make it happen. He's going to do his damnedest. The Gladiuses are mostly fallen. But the one over here is still getting a lot done. Oh, it's going to live just barely. 100 health left. Neblime. Not able to make that happen. Maybe that was that's a mistake that can let jakulangski get back into the game. But I say mistake. He still lost all the workers in his 4th base and his main. So it wasn't really that much of a mistake. I don't think so. It looks like one last fight might be able to happen here. But if jakulangski doesn't win it decidedly, then it feels like this is going to be all she wrote. We got more Gladiuses, plenty of Architects, plenty of Positrons for ground-based splash. There's some Calculusks, there's some Bacts, but that's pretty much all that Neblime has, I feel like. Or all that Neblime has to worry about, I guess. All that jakulangski has. He's making some Vigoralisks. I don't know, dude. I think the Gladiuses can just walk on over, or you can take these Legionnaires, walk on over, just swat down this 4th base before it really offers anything. Still nothing able to happen over here. The Gozoleth could have cleared out the Zealot. Couple more units just on a waypoint here. Middle of the map going to be retaken by Jack. Does Neblime want to fire against that or not? That's the question. Exemplar's out. Okay. Nice choice for more splash damage handling. Now, this fight looks okay for jakulangski, right? He's kind of isolated where the force is. The Vigoralisk's coming up to do some damage absorption. Here come the Gladiuses as well. Exemplar need to really join the fight. But yeah, those Gladiuses are going to be taken care of nice and easy. Where's the front line? Where are all the gateway units? Feels like they've been waypointed somewhere else, or they haven't been used or something. Yeah, they're all over here. If those Legionnaires are with the fight, this is a totally different engagement, but not having the melee, very, very big issue for Neblime. But not having enough of an economy to build multiple armies, that's going to be a big issue for jakulangski. And he is going to go ahead and take another fight. The Exemplars splashing down a lot of the damage over there. Positrons would love to kill these Calculusks, but they're busy trying to deal with this Zorius stack, and that's what I meant by the lack of melee. So the Exemplars are going to go down, the Architects are going to go down. Jack is going to reign supreme up there in the top right. He can even try to push for more damage. But look at this. Look at the Legionnaires go. They're going to charge back in and try to attack that Iris for good measure. Then they can just start sniping some of the tech and say, no, that's a permanent loss. It feels almost a little bit of a meme to go after the Iral this much, but what do you go after next? Okay, it's going to be the lake. He should be able to get that. He's got more of them coming on in. Lake down. Going after the swamp next, but he's not going to be able to do much there. The Calculusks are already out. So his successful demolition of the Zerg tech was actually just the lake, effectively. Now, I don't think Jack was going to last long enough to go for tier 3, but it's well out of the idea now. He never even took that base, even though his Goswell got rid of the Zealot that was guarding it. You got 2 Exemplars over here keeping watch. And the one Legionnaire is still here to heckle the swamp. Don't worry, the Skits are there. Another ground force been replenished. Imagine what it would be like if he had been able to keep that alive, though. 3 gates more over there in the 4th base. And, or I guess that's the 5th now. Yeah, this is the 4th. So, very nice, very nice. Look at this. Adding lattices. Lattice going to be the option here. I guess he wants some golems. Keep that front line going. Also, idols wouldn't suck versus the calculisks. You're trying to think about air splash and stuff. Yeah, look at that. The double exemplar guarding that base. There's not going to be anything over there. Zet's moving on in. And indeed, that's going to go ahead and die. So Jack has to wipe this army in the middle, which I think he can. He's got the matrolets out as well. That's going to be a very big help. Not quite able to get rid of the Archon. But the Architect is definitely gone. Well, I said that, but it didn't actually end up happening. The Zealots instead keeping it alive. Now cycling back with the Architect, not targeting the right thing. So, okay, now he's trying to hit the big units in the back. Remember, these Calculisks are very, very brittle. If you get splash damage dealt to them, they are going to be out of the game. And you can see there's already some starting with the Positrons, but not quite enough. Only 3 of them were even up. The Archons held at bay. Is jakulangski going to turn this back into something? I mean, there's land effects, but they're on the wrong side of the map. We got more of them over here. It does feel like Neblime maybe played with his food a little bit with that tech snipe, and the Iris actually being remade right now. These Calculisks are a finite resource. An infested Archon, though, that is going to be a very big help. Say it ain't so, Neblime. Tell me you didn't end up playing with your food. He can't quite break out all the Calculisks, but he's got this around. He's going to wipe this army out, and I think he's back in control of the game. I mean, he's had double the worker count for a very long time, and Jack just hasn't been able to saturate his bases. He's been making more units, but he's back down to just matrolets. He has hardly anything. Neblime needs to only just move across the map at this point. He's getting all the different tech. Iril is done, sure. But you got no money! You got no money, Jack! Nothing at all. Ancestral Archives, pumping out Archons. Plenty of Zealots coming out of these gateways. Barghest, Vassals, of course, he wants to go Vassal, Barghest, Land Effect as like the hit squad that just walks in and destroys everything. Disables anything that they can't shoot. Zealots coming over here, that's going to be more than enough to shut down this base. Now with 6 o'clock being taken out as well, I think Neblime's probably just going to be winning the game here in a moment. I think Jack is most likely going to call it. He has nothing left. Just some Kagurlisks in production. I saw he made some Convolisks earlier. Got the Zorius as well. Like, you know, even if he clears these Archons, he's probably going to lose the hatch. He is losing a bunch of action over here. The air fleet going to descend. Big ground force moving forward as well towards maybe the natural or the 3rd base. And then down goes the Hatcherosk. Hemorrhaging on all fronts. Oh, the Kagurlisks are going to get swatted down by the Zealots as well. That's not going to be any good. And just look at the production tab tells all, right? Like, you see so many icons on there. You know that Neblime is in control of the game. GG is called as the Archon dies, and, well, Neblime will post the win. 2 in a row, back to reality. Jack could not make it a tie set, and that would have been very exciting. But I'm sure we'll see more from these two. They are playing all the time, so stay tuned, and we'll be back very soon for more Cosmonarchy. GG's.